Governor Nikki Haley, welcome to The Issue Is for the first time.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
People are voting now in California, which is kind of wild, but it sort of feels like the beginning of this campaign, and there's still a lot of people in this state that don't know you that well. So maybe this is an opportunity to give an introduction to the people of California, a little bit about your story and about why you decided to run for president.
You know, born and raised in rural South Carolina, was an accountant, went on and defeated the longest serving legislator in a primary when I ran for the State House, and really fought for transparency, ethics reform, all of those things. Ended up running for governor as a Tea Party candidate against a lieutenant governor, attorney general, very popular congressman, and a state senator. We won that, ran 2 terms, and then was appointed ambassador to the UN in the Trump administration. And bottom line is, I think we need an accountant in the White House. I know what it's like to run a government and clean it up. As governor, we did that. We went from 11% unemployment to 4%. We passed voter ID, tort reform, pension reform, the toughest illegal immigration law in the country, and then went on to the UN. And I dealt with Russia, China, and Iran every day. This is a time where, you know, I think we need someone who knows domestic policy. We need someone who knows foreign policy, but we also need someone who knows fiscal policy, because we look at our debt and we look at our economy and we know something's got to give.
You know, the challenging part of this race is you're running against somebody who has 100% name ID, right? Yeah. And so that's hard. We see in some of the polls recently, you're down 40% in this state, 50% nationally. How do you overcome that? What is the specific path where you end up as the Republican nominee?
I mean, look at what we've done. We had 14 candidates in this race. I've defeated a dozen of the fellas. I got 1 left. We were at 2% in Iowa. We finished with 20%. We got 43% New Hampshire. But think about that. The Republican incumbent, Trump, didn't get 43% New Hampshire. Now we're focused on South Carolina, and then it'll be Michigan and Super Tuesday. This is the opportunity for voters to say, do we want more of the same, or do we want something new? More of the same is not just Joe Biden, it's also Donald Trump. You look at the fact that 70% of Americans don't want to see a Trump-Biden rematch. The majority of Americans disapprove of Trump. The majority of Americans disapprove of Biden. Both of those men put us trillions of dollars in debt that our kids are never going to forgive us for. And are we really going to have a country in disarray and a world on fire and have our 2 candidates be in their 80s? Because we need someone who can serve 8 years, strong, disciplined, to get our country back on track. And I think people want a new generational leader.
What is California's role in all that? More delegates than anywhere else in the country?
Yeah, I think California is very important. I mean, you've got citizens who understand that our debt is out of control, that we only have 31% of 8th graders in our country proficient in reading. We have an open border that's a national security threat every day that no one is doing anything about it. You've got lawlessness in our streets, and you've got a world on fire. And what I will tell you is, I voted for Donald Trump twice. I was proud to serve America in his administration. But the truth is, chaos follows him. And we can't have, 4 more years of chaos and survive it. And the second thing is, there will be a female president of the United States. It will either be me or it will be Kamala Harris. If Donald Trump is the nominee, Joe Biden wins and gives it to Kamala Harris.
How do you know that? Why do you say that?
Well, I think, first of all, everybody knows Joe Biden's not going to finish 4 more years. I mean, you can look at him. He's changed a lot in the last 2 years.
He would disagree with that, yeah.
No, I think he knows exactly what he's doing. Kamala can't defeat Trump, and they know that. Biden can. And so that's just a reality. But look at the general election polling. In every one of them, Trump is down 7, down 9. On his best day, it's margin of error. He might be up by 2. That's another nail biter of an election. And we've seen what happened in 2018, 2020, 2022. He lost all of them. You look, I'm in every one of those same general election polls. I defeat Biden by up to 17 points. That's bigger than presidency. That's House, Senate, governorships. But think about that. That's a mandate going into D.C. to stop the wasteful spending and get our economy back on track, to get our kids reading again and go back to the basics in education, to secure our border, no more excuses, and to make sure we're preventing war and make our world more safe. That's what Americans want, is they want to go and right the ship on this. We've got to do it.
But to that point, and that is definitely true, you look at the polls and you are a stronger candidate. But then you look at the voting in some places, and we saw what happened in Nevada this week. where no other candidate, got more support than you. I know that's a state where there aren't any delegates, but does that situation in Nevada hurt a little bit?
No, I mean, Nevada, it's such a scam. They were supposed to have a primary. Trump rigged it so that the GOP chairman, who's been indicted, would go and create a caucus. We knew months ago that we weren't going to spend a day or a dollar in Nevada because it wasn't worth it. And so we didn't even count Nevada. That wasn't anything we were looking at. We knew that was rigged from the start. Our focus is on South Carolina, Michigan, Super Tuesday. So if you look what we did in Iowa and you look what we did in New Hampshire, we're continuing to grow. That's what matters, I think, more than anything else. But look at what happened this week. Here you have Republicans lost a major vote on the border. Republicans lost a major vote on Israel. Donald Trump was found that he will not have immunity in all of these court cases coming up. The RNC chair is fired. All of this chaos is happening around us, and Donald Trump's fingerprints are on every bit of it. We can't continue as the Republican Party to go forward with this chaos. You don't defeat Democrat chaos with Republican chaos, and that's why we've got to see a change.
To that point about the border, because that is a big deal, right? We had a situation where there were a lot of Republican conservatives in the Senate who negotiated a deal, the strongest border deal in decades, which would also give funding to Ukraine, also give funding to Israel, and it's not going anywhere right now. If you were president, would you support that deal? We know it's not perfect, and there never is perfect when you're doing a bipartisan compromise, but on balance, would you support that deal?
Two issues with the border deal. First of all, it was good in that it strengthened asylum charges. The whole catch and release, it strengthened that needs to be done. It didn't have remain in Mexico, which is important. You want people to not step foot on U.S. soil to begin with. And it had a 5,000 person threshold. We don't want to see that. The point is you stop it immediately. The problem is, here you have President Trump saying, don't do anything until the election. America's acting like it's September 10th. We better remember what September 12th felt like. It only takes one person. It is irresponsible to say they shouldn't do anything. That bill was not perfect. What they should do is go in a room and figure it out. They should not go home for 2 weeks. They should finish it. Trump needs to stay out of this and let us get a deal that works. But it was incredibly irresponsible on his part to try and stop it. It's incredibly irresponsible for Congress to leave and not get it right in the first place.
And then you also have a situation where Israel funding failed. Ukraine funding may never happen. As somebody who is so focused on foreign policy, what is America's place in the world, and what happens to our national security if Congress doesn't fund Israel, doesn't fund Ukraine, and doesn't fund the border?
Well, first of all, Trump is causing chaos in Congress now too. We see that, and that's a problem. But you have to understand, this is about preventing wars. I saw every day at the UN, terrorists, thugs, and dictators always tell us what they're going to do. They're amazingly transparent. Hamas said they were going to go into Israel. They did. China said they were going to take Hong Kong. Happened during COVID. Russia said they were going to invade Ukraine. We watched it. China says Taiwan is next. We better believe them. Russia said once they take Ukraine, Poland and the Baltics are next. Those are NATO countries that immediately puts America at war. This is about preventing war. It's always been about preventing war. My husband is a combat veteran that served in Afghanistan. He's deployed now. The last thing we want is our men and women to go to war. If we just gave Ukraine the equipment and ammunition they needed to win, that's only 3.5% of our defense budget. We've got to focus on the fact that we've got to stop terrorist activity. We can't let Putin start a war that's going to include all of us. We have to prevent that. But at the same time, I don't think we should give countries cash, because you can't follow it, you can't hold it accountable. I don't think we need troops on the ground. But let's be smart. This is about preventing war. And right now, you've got so much distraction happening in America. And we know when America's distracted, the world is less safe. And that's playing out as we see it.
Can you talk to us about what it means for you to have your husband deployed, how that shapes your worldview, and how it is on a human level doing what you're doing now without him here?
I dropped him off 7 months ago at 4 a.m. and I watched him and 230 soldiers pick up their 2 duffel bags of belongings to go to a country they've never been, all in the name of protecting America. They're willing to sacrifice their lives and their families because they still believe in this amazing experiment that is America. So if they're willing to sacrifice for us there, shouldn't we be willing to fight for America here? Because we have a country to save. So while he's there, I'm fighting here. At the end of the day, we're doing this. We don't want our kids to live like this. I don't want anyone's kids to live like this. We can't continue down this path of anger and division and negativity and not getting things done. We've got to have a new generational leader that leaves the negativity and the baggage behind and focuses on what we're going to do to make America strong again.
You know, the only Trump you've debated so far was the fake Trump on SNL.
Yeah, I've been trying to get him to debate me, and he refuses to do it.
Have you heard from them after that offer on national TV? Any progress on that?
On a debate?
Yeah.
I mean, Trump won't do it. We've said we want him to debate right away. And think about what that says. The fact that he didn't get 43% of the vote in New Hampshire. He only got 1.5% of the vote in all of Iowa. And he's saying, he says anybody that supports me will be barred permanently from MAGA. If you're running for president, this is about addition. It's not about pushing people out and saying they can't be in your club. Then he goes and pushes the RNC to name him the presumptive nominee. We don't do coronations in America. We need 48 states and other territories to vote. That's been the issue from the very beginning. But think about, our disclosures came out as well. He spent $50 million in campaign donations on his personal court cases. He has said he's going to spend more time in a courtroom than he will campaigning for president. Is that really what we want going forward? Because the world is on fire and our country's in disarray, and we can't have that. All he has done is talked about revenge and how he's a victim. He's never once talked about the American people. That should send a chill up everyone's spine.
All that being said, is he still better than Joe Biden?
Well, I think at the end of the day, we know that we don't want to have a President Kamala Harris. The problem is he can't win. In any of these general election polls, he can't win, and that's without all these court cases decided yet.
You're saying Trump can't win?
Trump can't win.
Yeah, but you
and
still,
so
would you vote for him over Biden?
I will always vote for the Republican nominee over Biden.
Back to the SNL thing. How did that happen? Did you reach out to them? Did they reach out to you? And did you hang with J-Lo backstage?
So there will be a time and place I talk about that,
Yeah.
but it's not going to happen during this election.
Was it fun though?
It was a great time. They were very kind to us. It was just, we couldn't have asked for a better situation. And it's a lot of fun. Look, politics shouldn't be so serious all the time. We have to lighten up. We have to understand that we shouldn't live, breathe, and eat politics all the time. And so, yeah, it was good, but it was also making a point. Trump needs to debate me.
And it was well said. And to that point, we do something on our show called Personal Issues, which is 30-second rapid-fire questions to get to know your personal favorites away from politics, to show some places where we can get along. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
So here we go. What is your favorite TV show?
Ooh, Yellowstone.
Okay, good answer. Most Republicans say that.
It's a great show.
Favorite movie?
Favorite movie, Shawshank Redemption.
Great choice. Favorite musician or band?
Joan Jett.
Nice. Who is your all-time favorite athlete?
Ooh. So I love Clemson football, obsessed with Clemson football. Favorite athlete. And I loved tennis. I mean, growing up it was Chris Everett, because I loved tennis. Now I love Clemson football, so Coach Dabo is like a favorite of mine and any of the players on the Clemson team, but yeah.
Who is your role model?
My role model, it has always been my mom.
Why is that?
My parents come from India, and she was named one of the first female judges in India. She was a lawyer, and because of the time, she couldn't sit on the bench. It didn't happen. And to see that they left everything 50 years ago to come to America with $8 in their pocket because they wanted a better life for their family. For her to see me become governor, and for her to see me be UN ambassador, and for her to see me run for president, I learned my toughness from her. I learned my grace from my dad. But aside from her, Margaret Thatcher is also an amazing icon.
What's the most important lesson your mom has taught you?
That don't ever let what makes you different slow you down. It's always, she would always say, your job is not to show people how you're different, your job is to show them how you're similar. And I think that lesson, when I would get teased on the playground, followed me throughout my life, because when you first have an issue, if you talk about what we have in common first, people let their guard down, and then you can actually solve the problem going forward.
Well, we both like Yellowstone.
Yes, definitely. One of the best shows on TV.
I'm a USC football fan, the wrong USC, University of Southern California.
Yes.
But it's so great to have you in California.
Thank you
so much. And
Let's
really
go
appreciate
vote.
it.
Go to NikkiHaley.com. This is a chance to get our country straight. I hope all your listeners will do that.
Thank you very much.
Take
Thank
care.
you very much.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it.
Good to see you.